This is a how-to video for anybody that kayaks that doesn't want to take the chance of dropping something off the side of the kayak and letting it sink to the bottom of the lake or the ocean or whatever. And if you're like me, you carry a lot of stuff on the kayak, and if you do end up spilling, you don't want to lose, all your stuff. What I use is recycled Coke bottles. This is a soda bottle. You can probably guess which one. I tie string to it, and this will float pretty heavy. I've floated a GoPro camera on the suction cup mount on one of these, and it floats. And it probably submerges maybe that deep in the water. Pretty much what you're going to need is on whatever you're floating, you either need a hole or you need to tie a rope with a loop on it. And this is just regular nylon 3-strand rope. It's pretty cheap stuff. Surveying rope I've used. Pretty much anything, as long as it's 150-pound test, 100-pound test or so, you want some pretty decent stuff. But let's say you want to float something big, like a tackle box, that can weigh a little bit. What you do, you get a bigger bottle. This is a 2-liter. Find the cap real quick. Put the cap on it, and you're going to need some string, which I happen to have a bunch of it. And you're going to need quite a bit. Always cut the excess off. Now when you cut this rope, I always tie it into 2 knots. So the worst thing that can happen is you can let the end of the rope untwine, and it just causes a big mess. So you want to tie 2 knots, get them pretty tight. Then you want to cut the string in between the 2 knots, and that will keep it from unraveling. Next, you want to take your bottle, and there's a little lip here that isn't the cap or that piece, it's just a little plastic lip. You want to go around that, and there's a couple different ways of doing it. You could just tie regular knots in a square knot. I usually do that at least once. So, it's just a regular knot like you're tying your shoes. You want the opposite side. You want to do the same thing. Then I want to, similar to doing it again, but then after that, pretty much you just want to loop it over and under. So it's like that. And you want to do this probably 5 or 6 times. You can do it more. This bottle, you see I did it quite a bit. You don't have to. I just tend to, just in case that part gets a little bit more wear. Pull it tight. Now you want to cut off the excess. Now this is the tricky part. I leave about 1/4 inch, and you can use a lighter. I've got this handy dandy little torch. You want to melt that and then smush the end of it. And that keeps it from coming untied, unraveled. It's pretty much on there forever. Now the next part, you want to take about that much length, the length of the bottle, and you want to get enough string that it will go over the bottle before tying it. And then you want to do what's called a surgeon's knot, but you bring it through once and then you go through again, then tighten it. And I tend to put 2 of these knots in here. Really, you only need 1. I just like doing 2 for extra precaution. You want to do the second one above the first knot. Then you want to take your excess and do just like before. Cut it. Melt it. Squish it. Now, you've got your string, you got your big loop. The reason you need the big loop, say I want to make sure this tackle box doesn't float. You run that through, take your bottle, push the bottle through the loop, now it's on there. Now if that sinks, your bottle will still float. It'll keep it, these will probably float 3 or 4 pounds. I haven't tested the exact amount, but you can float a pretty good amount. I floated the tackle box with just a smaller Coke bottle, but depending on how much weight you're trying to float, this is a pretty good setup. Anchor lines, Coke bottle float. It's about anything that can fall off the boat and sink gets a float. The best part is they're pretty much free except for the rope, since they're, if you drink drinks, you can use just about any bottles. I've used same setup for jug lines. If you want to make some really cheap, effective jug lines. If you use Gatorade bottles, you can take glow sticks, crack the glow sticks, shove them inside the bottle, and use them at night for jug fishing.